Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Horror Coast to Coast, where we discuss horror movies from opposite sides of the continental U.S. From a secret government lab underneath MIT, I'm Brian's doppelganger.
And from a Hall of Mirrors in Sonoma County, I'm Michelle.
And this week, we're talking about Us from 2019, written and directed by Jordan Peele.
Okay, so this is actually it's a big paragraph. So bear with me. It says, accompanied by her husband, son, and daughter, Adelaide Wilson returns to the beachfront home where she grew up as a child. Haunted by a traumatic experience from the past, Adelaide grows increasingly concerned that something bad is going to happen. Her worst fears soon become a reality when four masked strangers descend upon the house, forcing the Wilsons into a fight for survival. When the masks come off, the family is horrified to learn that each attacker takes the appearance of one of them. So, this was I knew going into this it was going to be a lot, like a good thing, but like a lot of material, a lot of food for thought, a lot of Jordan Peele's very smart, so I knew that this was going to be not fluff. I knew this was going to be like packed full of themes and messages and all kinds of things. And I jotted some stuff down right away. The Hands Across America thing was very strange, by the way. The nice thing about these kinds of movies is they give you so much to work with. And so immediately I was like, okay, rabbits? Hands Across America? What the heck is this? But yeah, so let's start from the beginning.
We should mention that this is my third time seeing this, and this is your first time.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, what did you know about this movie before you watched it?
Honestly, I knew it was about doppelgangers, and that's it. I didn't know what form they took. I didn't know the origin. I didn't know anything except that it had to do with doppelgangers.
All right. Awesome. All right, so we start the movie in 1986 on a beach in Santa Cruz where little Addie is about, 10?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, she wanders off from her parents and she stumbles into a hall of mirrors called Vision Quest with the subtitle Find Yourself. And so she does find herself when one of the reflections isn't a reflection at all, but a little girl that looks exactly like her. And then we flash forward to the present day where Addie's now played by Lupita Nyong'o. She's got a husband named Gabe and 2 kids.
The transitions from those two scenes immediately caught my attention because it goes from the old TV with the antenna showing the commercial for Hands Across America, and the music is it's good, it's well done, but it's kind of understated. And it plays as the opening kind of keeps going in the background. And then as it transitions, it turns into that fucked up religious choral shit, which always gets me. And I was totally thrown because I didn't expect that. I was like, okay, we're at a circus, weird stuff's happening. I get it. I was expecting more like do 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 do, and then it turns into that creepy ass music. And so my very first thing that I wrote down is the music. What the fuck? And I put it in capital letters because that was like an eye-opening moment for me when I was like, I'm watching this movie. Yeah, okay, whatever. To, oh shit, I am watching this movie now. And then there's also in that beginning scene, there's also the pan out of the rabbit cages. And of course, you're just like, what the hell? What the hell? I can't even connect that yet.
Yeah, the soundtrack is so good. Flashing forward to the present day, Addie's husband Gabe planned a trip back to Santa Cruz without telling her, and she is not happy about it.
Yeah. And right away, you know that obviously she's connected to this somehow. she's clearly upset, maybe a little trauma response to going back to Santa Cruz, and you totally are on board. At least I was on board with her. I was like, okay, what's happening? But then I was like, wait, does she have this like weird traumatic experience that nobody knows about? And it took me a minute to be really convinced that no one knew about it. And, obviously then there's a scene where she tells him later. But at first I was like, wait, how come nobody knows this? Why would he do this? And then you find out he really had no idea.
All right. So at the beach, the son wanders off and finds the same funhouse that Addie did as a girl, but now it's Merlin's Forest.
I didn't know the name changed. Okay.
Yeah. And then right outside there, he notices a homeless man with his arms outstretched and blood dripping off of his hands.
Yeah. And it's sort of implied that it might be connected to the guy they saw going into the ambulance, but you don't know for sure at this point. That's when they go back to the house and she's like, we need to leave. And the husband's like, what the hell are you talking about? We need to leave. And she's like, we need to leave. And then explains to him the story.
We get the kids doing creepy drawings trope when Addie finds her son's drawing of a homeless man with blood dripping off of his hand.
And the lights go out and then he's like, oh, I'm going to go check the generator. And like as he's walking, I mean, this is where the creepy kid trope comes in too, because he goes down the hallway and the son just pops out of nowhere. And he's like, there's a family in our driveway. And you're like, oh my God. And the way he says it too is like, oh, Jesus Christ, there's a family in our driveway. Like, wow.
And so the family in the driveway is, of course, them. All identical, except they're wearing red jumpsuits and one glove. They come in, they sit everybody down on the couch. They make Addie chain herself to the table. Basically, she explains that whatever Addie was doing, she was her shadow and she had to do all the same things, except in a way that was awful.
And all the product of everything that was happening in her life was the worst version in Red's world.
Yeah. So she had to marry the guy who looks identical to her husband, even if he was awful. It didn't matter. She was forced to do it. And then after she's done telling her story,
they split them all up.
And then most of the movie from this point on is them fighting their own doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Like a few houses down, Josh and Kitty and the twins all get immediately killed by their doppelgangers.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting that part. So one of the things I thought going into the movie was that it was just doppelgangers of this one family.
Yeah.
I did not realize. So I wrote down, holy shit, there's more of them. I didn't know there were going to be more than just this family. I thought it was like a single home invasion situation, and it happened to be their doppelgangers that does that. But two things that I also wrote when the family first shows up. One, holy crap, that took a turn. I was not expecting it. It just happened so quickly. Yeah, holy crap, that took a turn. And then, oh my God, her voice is so creepy.
Yeah.
Like Lupita Nyong'o does this creepy voice when she plays the Red character. That was, I don't know. I mean, that could have been like cheesy and just like misplaced, but it was perfect. It was so well done. I was like, I am genuinely terrified of you right now. And you could just see how angry she was, or psychotic, or both.
Yeah, I heard that was Lupita Nyong'o's idea that she pitched to Jordan. And he was like, yeah, let's go with it. Bold choice, and it definitely works.
Yeah, so I was completely thrown when I saw there was more of them.
Yeah, my first time, I thought it was just going to be the family, too. On this viewing, I kind of noticed, so you see this whole family get killed, and then later, our main family, the Wilsons, show up. This part where you see Josh or his doppelganger at the door and they think that it's Josh and they're just like, hey, Josh, we need your help. It would have been so creepy if you didn't have the part where that whole family was killed off and you were just in their shoes and experienced it. Like, oh, that's not Josh.
And you show up and they're all dead already. Yeah, that would have been.
I mean, the way it was done was great, but that would have been really scary, I think, if they did it that way.
Of course, especially since there's the part where the kids are walking up the stairs with the golf club. And as they get to the top of the landing, the twins are dead and they see the bodies. But you know what happens.
Yeah.
So you are expecting those bodies to be there. So I agree with you. If we didn't see that scene and we are just following these kids walking up the stairs, that would have been completely terrifying. Completely terrifying. Let me go back one moment to when they were back in their own house. There is a really brilliant moment that happens that I picked up on probably because I have kids. The two boys are in the closet, and before we had been shown that if the closet's not blocked off by something, it locks shut. And, the son, he seems like he's afraid of the dark or he's freaked out by being locked in the closet. And so he takes his doppelganger there when they get split up and he tricks him and locks him in the closet. And so at that moment, um, the Jason runs away and leaves his doppelganger in the closet. Meanwhile, the two, Red and Addie, are downstairs and she's got her face smashed against the glass. And the kid Pluto, the doppelganger of Jason, is in the closet, and Addie and Red hear him scream. They both turn their heads, and Addie's character says, "That's yours."
Yeah.
And it was this perfect mom moment because literally when you're with other parents and your kids are off playing, inevitably one of them will start to cry. And that's exactly what you do as a parent. You know whose it is, or at least know it's not yours. And you turn to the other one and you say, "That's yours." And it was just such a great thing. I was like, how weirdly relatable. And you kind of like had this moment where you question whether is she truly psychotic? Does she really have no emotions towards the kids of this family because she was kind of like forced into shadowing the surface people's actions, and there's a lot of like obviously fate versus free will going on here. And so that was the moment where I was like, oh, is she just a mom like her, even though the circumstances were like the horrible version of it? I just thought that was really brilliant to have that little moment because it was just so subtle. And I saw that and I was like, "Oh my god." And to just even have that level of empathy to be like, I mean, it was not really empathy. It was more like, my kid got away.
Yeah.
So, that's obviously yours up there screaming. But yeah, that was a moment that I latched onto. And then also there's a moment where she's got like a little bit of mom strength where she pulls the entire cabinet when she's running with her son. And so I was just like, that's crazy. Um, and then I also wrote, holy crap, that other family was ruthless.
Oh, yeah.
The Tyler's doppelgangers,
Yeah.
they were, but anyway,
What I found kind of funny is it seemed like the doppelgangers of Josh and Kitty liked each other more than the actual Josh and Kitty did.
yes, because she was upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
And then there's another part when they are in the kids are going into the house where the music lines up perfectly. They're playing okay, so the kids walk in the house and "Fuck the Police" is playing in the background, and as the kids walk into the house, I think Ice Cube says, "It's gonna be a bloodbath." It's, like, right on cue,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh my god, they lined that up so well." I mean, that whole song during that scene lined up very well.
And straight from the underground when they literally come straight from the underground.
Yeah, and it was great because you know that the kids are armed to go save their mom, ultimately. But the vibe was like, "Let me just kill some bitches real quick." I just thought it was so good.
All right. So one by one, they kill all the doppelgangers, starting with the doppelgangers of the Tylers. And then they kill off their own. And it gets down to Pluto, the doppelganger of Jason, lures them into a trap. He's gonna blow up the car with gasoline, basically. And Jason uses his connection to Pluto to basically like play a game with him and have him back into the fire and just incinerate himself. And we saw this earlier in the closet scene. They were playing this game where they had to imitate each other, which is also basically what all the tethers have to do to the regular people. So I really like this
So
scene.
and you're saying it's a game. I saw it as more like a part of this fate versus free will theme where in the closet Jason figures out that he's mimicking him, and you don't know if it's by choice. You don't know if he's just being a kid or if Jason has some kind of power as the person who is like the surface dweller.
Well, yeah,
And so then later on when he's like, "Oh, it's a trap." I understand, like, he's my double. I kind of get what he's doing. And he gets the family out of the car. It seems like he's taking actions that he knows that Pluto can't resist, that he has to copy him because he's under his power, he's under his like control or something. Um so I don't know, maybe it was a game, maybe he did trick him, but I thought it was like he didn't really have a say over that.
yeah. I don't know if it was literally a game, but if not, it was definitely like intentionally mirroring a game that kids would play.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like going
Yeah.
back to weapons, the way the kids all had their arms outstretched almost as if they were pretending to be airplanes. Like,
Yeah. Okay, so I where I left off in the notes is I wrote down Zora and I just put the exclamation point because I was so impressed with how she just jumped in and was like, "This is what needs to happen, and I am doing it." Like, she did not hesitate to do anything, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh my god, she's just, like, jumping in and just taking care of stuff."
yeah, she was pretty badass.
Yeah, she was bad. I mean, she beats the crap out of that girl. I, like, couldn't believe it. And then oh, yeah, so did they know what their doubles were doing? Was a question I had. Like, the people who lived in the tunnels, did they know what the people on the surface were doing? Or were they just consistently being puppeted?
See, that's like the biggest issue I have with this is that it just doesn't make any sense if you really try to think about the logistics of it at all. It's really my only issue with this movie. It's like you just can't
Yeah.
really even try to think about that because, okay, so we see a scene where Addie's dad gave her the Thriller t-shirt at the carnival.
Mhm.
And when we see her father's doppelganger give Red a t-shirt, it's like, where did this shirt come from? Like, are there supply chains underground? Are there like,
Yeah.
if everyone has a doppelganger, what do long haul truckers do? They're doppelgangers. Are there underground
Yeah.
truck routes?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like you can't really even ask that question because it just doesn't really make any logistical sense.
Yeah. No, the concept that the surface world is being, like, copied and replayed in real time in an underground subway system or abandoned tunnels is a very far-fetched idea. Like, you can't just duplicate the world and put it underground. It just doesn't
Yeah.
work. So that's why I was like, "Do they know what's going on?" I couldn't understand that. And there were a few moments where it seemed like there was a little bit of envy, right? Where Elizabeth Moss's character is, like, putting on the lipstick, and you can see that she's, like, it just has this feel of, like, "Look at me, I'm on the surface now," or, "Look at me, I could be one of them." Um, and then the same thing with Red and her family, it seems like their motivation is to get out of the slums and up on the surface and be one of
I mean,
us,
yeah, this whole thing is totally just about class.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, I think, have you seen Parasite?
Is that the Korean movie?
Yes.
No, I have not.
Oh, I was gonna say this, I feel like it has a lot of the same kind of commentary on class, but I like this more abstract way of doing it is more fun to me.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's just so many parallels.
I've heard that Parasite is good, and I've heard that it is kind of about, um, class and social status and stuff, but isn't it, like, 3 hours long?
I don't remember the runtime,
Okay,
but
I thought it was very long, and so I've never really pushed myself to sit down and watch it, but, Yeah, I'll watch it eventually.
But yeah, I really just like this way of addressing like a class issue where it's just very abstract and like poetic. Like George Lucas says, it's like poetry, it rhymes about Star Wars. But this movie, like everything rhymes. Everything's got like a parallel somewhere else in the movie or to something else.
Yeah. What I really liked is that scene in the closet where Pluto has the flame and Jason is like struggling to get his flame lit. And so it's kind of not necessarily that they're mirroring each other, but actually showing
Yeah.
that they're opposites. Cuz like one's got fire and one doesn't. And I thought that was so cool.
And why the hell did they just let Jason play with lighters?
So I thought that was not necessarily a lighter. I thought it was like a sparkler thing that had to do with some magic trick he was trying to do because I think isn't there like in like consignment shops you can find those magic things where you can flick it, it makes it look like your hands have sparkles, but it's really just like, you know, something to do with flint and sparks being
Yeah.
generated. And I think that's what he was trying to do. Like he was trying to just make sparks. I didn't think he was trying to make an
Oh,
actual
okay.
fire. But I don't know.
But they let that kid get away with so much. He was
Um
just a little punk. Yeah.
Jason? I actually thought he might have been, like, on the spectrum because of the mask and because the girl was like she said something about him when the twins were like, "Your brother's so weird." She was like she defends him and she gives a reason, and it sounded like she was basically saying, you know, he's, um, not neurotypical and
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he does wear a werewolf mask all the time.
yeah, that was the impression I got, and that was also the reason I thought the mom was especially protective of him, um, because she was, like, way over the top protective of Jason, and I couldn't quite figure it out. I thought maybe because he's the younger one, um, I mean, from personal experience, I can be a little bit like that, and so I thought maybe it's because he's younger, but then I was like, well, maybe it's because he's special needs, and so she's spent a lot of time protecting him, and it's just second nature to her at this point. But I don't know. I also wanted to point out that there is one scene where she goes back into the Tyler house and she's going back to get the car keys and one of the twins isn't dead and she attacks her and Addie like clubs her to death with something and Jason walks in and there is this moment. This is when I kind of figured out like the twist for me wasn't a twist because I kind of saw it after this moment where she is beating the girl and in like the moment of kind of realizing okay she's dead she has this grunting sound. She does this grunting noise, and then she's holding the scissors, and she stands up, and she does this grunting, breathy noise as Jason walks in, and he sees her, and he, like, looks suspicious, and then she looks at him, and she kinda straightens out, and that's when I was like, "Snap, she's one of them." I didn't know how it was gonna play out, but I was like, "Okay, she's one of them. This is how it's gonna go." And so it wasn't the biggest twist. I wonder if that could have either not happened or been more
Well,
subtle.
I didn't catch that on my
If
first
that would have
viewing for
been
sure. Oh, no.
really?
No,
Okay,
I didn't get the twist before it happened.
okay. Yeah, I wrote, "Okay, she's one of them, grunting plus the scissors?" Yeah.
Yeah, so after Pluto is incinerated, Red grabs Jason and runs. Is it into the funhouse or is it just somewhere else underground?
It's into the fun house, and that scene when she's camouflaged against the car and stands up, holy crap. That was so
Yeah, this
scary.
movie had some scary
I'm a
scenes in it.
ugh. Yes. I'm also a sucker for things that are hiding in plain sight, like scary things that are hiding in plain sight, and I am staring right at it and I don't see it until it moves. That shit always gets to me. Like I think of a the movie it's very dumb, but a movie that I always think about is Signs because there's a very like well-known scene in the movie where they don't know what they're looking at, and then the alien moves, and you're like, "Oh my god, it was right there the whole time." So, yeah, those scenes. So she's standing against a red SUV, and she's, like, ducked down, and she slowly like unfolds her body and you realize it's her, and she's out of focus too, and the kid's in focus, and so she just scoops him up and runs away. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Right. So then in the underground, Red gives a big exposition dump basically and explains that the government created them. And her theory is that they learned how to create a body, but not a soul. So the souls were split in two. And that's the origin of the tethered.
Which I guess I'm supposed to continue to suspend my disbelief because I feel like, what does that mean? Are they actively duplicating people? Like, are they actively, so like a kid is born. Do they then have to duplicate that kid? I don't quite get it. How is this sustaining itself? I mean, I'll suspend my disbelief if that's what I'm being asked to do. But that was where I was like, this doesn't actually make sense. Forgetting about like copying, doubling the entire world's population and putting it underground. I don't understand because people are constantly being made. How could this like defunct government experiment perpetuate itself in the same manner? Like, you would think that they would be doppelgangers continuing the community with new people, not with people that continuing the doppelganger community. It was just anyway, continue. What just go. I was so confused by
Yes.
this.
So I had those hang-ups very much. That was basically my whole hang-up with this movie is how it makes no sense at all. So I've just come to the conclusion that the government used magic. It's just magic.
Okay.
It's all magic.
Okay.
Okay. Everything.
That's it. If I'm being asked to suspend my disbelief and it's magic, check. I'm
And
done.
I get why
I'm okay.
Jordan wants it to be the government when he wrote this, because like that makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense from a commentary point of view. But this movie would work a lot better if you just said, "Yeah, it's magic," or if you
I
just
agree.
hinted that it's like magic. But I'm kind of just over it at this point.
And
Like it's not that big of a deal because the movie's so good.
over questioning it, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah, on my third viewing, I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care. You can't make any sense of it. It's just magic."
yeah, so I land in that exact spot. I think it's great, and so I am absolutely, like I said, if you want me to suspend my disbelief, I'm all about it. I will do it because I think there's so many other things going on here that work. That is, you know what I mean? Like, just it's a testament to how brilliantly crafted this is that you can give me a little bit of bullshit and I'm okay with it. But let me also go back to the scene where the exposition dump happens. It's a weird shot where it's a super close up of Red's face in blurry focus, and Addie's standing at a distance, maybe 20 feet behind her. And it's like an off center shot of her face talking, explaining it, like close up of her talking, and Addie standing behind her, like bloodied and hunched over. And I thought that was gonna be a quick shot, but that shot lasts for the entire explanation. So it's like on her face with her double in the background for a good 2 minutes, however long that monologue was. And I just couldn't, like, I couldn't get over the creative choice to do this and to say, "This is such an interesting shot, I'm just gonna let it ride." Um, I was just so like, "Wow, what a crazy choice." And I liked it. I mean, it was great. That classroom shot.
Yeah. So Red explains that when Addie learned dancing, it changed her. And it seemed like Red actually was able to enjoy something because even though she was forced to dance, she liked doing it. And then everyone else, all the other doppelgangers, saw that she was different. And so that's how she became basically the leader of this resistance movement.
Yeah. And she organizes them, which again, more suspending your disbelief because I get it. And, I had a conversation about the movie shortly afterwards, and the person I talked to said, she had years and years to navigate this underground network and like rally her troops. So that's the explanation for that, how she was able to like mass organize this ragtag group of the world's population.
Or it's magic and she used like psychic telephone to get everyone on the same page.
Or it's magic. Yes, agree. But then they get the most beautiful fight scene. And I cannot emphasize that enough. It was just a beautiful, well choreographed fight dance scene. It was just like mesmerizing to watch. And I was like, they're fighting, but this is so like artistic and beautiful. I loved it.
This is one of my favorite scenes of all time.
Really? I mean, I'm not surprised. It was so wonderful. I was watching it and I was just like, what a beautiful fight scene. And the best part is it's juxtaposed with the actual death because that strangulation was fucking brutal. I was like, I think I need to close my eyes for a second. This isn't particularly gruesome, but it was just I don't know. It was a challenge to watch. And it was like it took this like beautifully constructed fight scene and then went to this strangulation scene and it was like, oh, man, that's harsh. Anyway, but continue. You love it.
And we should say that during this fight scene, Red is like fighting completely elegantly, like subtly dodging everything Addie throws at her. And Addie's just super aggressive, just going at her like an animal. So it really highlights the subversion of this
Yeah.
high class civilized person's just primal, and then the underground, basically low class person is elegant and artful.
Yeah. And it also emphasizes how she's able to endure a struggle, right? The person who has been going through a struggle her entire life approaches it with grace, whereas the other person who hasn't had those kinds of struggles is just like chomping at the bit trying to stay afloat because they haven't had to deal with those kinds of things.
Yep.
I mean, that's a really good point that she was more graceful in that scene. Yeah, it was moving. It was weird. It was weirdly moving.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah.
After that, we basically just get the reveal that as a kid, after that first scene in the movie, the real Addie was strangled by her doppelganger and chained to a bed and grew up to be Red.
Yeah.
So the Addie we've come to know is is Red her name?
I thought Red was her name.
So the Addie we've come to know is Red, or is Red a name taken on by the real Addie?
Maybe that's true. Ah, I see. Okay, I didn't think about that. I just thought switch places so the names are switched. But you're right. Maybe she didn't
Yeah,
say, "My name is Red. I'm going to live your life now." She just
because Red seems very
yeah.
symbolic. As Red, this movie is dripping with
Yeah.
red symbolism.
Well, I will say I did have a little bit of a hard time um like kind of emotionally connecting the little girl who was the original Red to Addie that we got who was Red grown up. Because I mean, I understand that at the time we see the little girl, she's been shaped by her time spent in this underground facility. And so you see that the time she spends above ground kind of shakes loose that personality because she's creepy, she's scary, she's evil looking. But then she grows up in like a terrestrial household and I'm trying not to say normal, right?
Mhm.
I'm trying very much not to say normal. So she grows up above ground and her time above ground kind of changes her personality. And likewise, the real Addie grows up underground and she becomes this little girl. And so she becomes like the person this little girl would have otherwise become. And so it's very hard for me to kind of think that little girl from the beginning is the Addie character. you know? And that honestly, I actually think that in a way that kind of reveals a little bit of my own bias to like have such a hard time believing that a person who is good could have started out so evil, and vice versa. A person who is now, and maybe not evil, but a person who now has like intentions that could harm other people started out good. Like that's easier to believe because that's the storyline we're given all the time in every movie. But we're not given the storyline a person who is evil can transform into someone who we perceive as being good. So I thought that was interesting and, you know, a little telling for
Yeah.
me.
It's important to note that none of the tethers talk.
Yeah.
So the woman we've come to know as Addie was taught to talk by therapists. When she came back to her parents, they just thought she was so traumatized she didn't talk anymore. So she got years of therapy.
Yeah.
That's also
Yeah.
kind of a commentary because it's like, yeah, she's now like an upper class person with access to therapy and now she's doing well.
Yeah.
So there's really like undertones to every facet of this movie, I think.
Yeah.
It's very dense.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think that she had access. I mean, I definitely wrote down it's not that she didn't want to speak, it's that she actually didn't know how to speak. And so she goes through the process and learns. But I didn't make that connection that it's therapy. She goes through therapy and the therapist is like recommending all of these like beneficial activities to like get her to tell her story. I mean, what an open-minded therapist in 1986, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like so impressed and I also liked the fact that the black family goes to the black therapist and she gives them a totally different course of therapy than we would otherwise see from movies like this, where the dominant voice is gonna say something like, "Give her medication," or, I don't know, do something that you think, "Okay, that's gonna mess her up even more." But in this, the therapist is like, "Let's expose her to dance, expose her to drawing, let her be creative, express herself, and it'll come." And it's so it's just I really like that message too. That's another thing I hadn't thought about. But you know what I did write down? When she so when Addie goes down into the Hall of Mirrors and down to the tunnel, she is walking through all of these rabbits. And my first thought is, okay, so I have a California rabbit named Frankie. And so immediately I was like, oh, that looks like my rabbit. And I didn't make the connection. Oh, wait a minute. California rabbits are actually harvested for their meat. And so then I was like, is that why those rabbits are there? Is it their food source? So it was just so crazy because I was like, I would not have known that if I didn't have this rabbit at home and had already read about her and had read that California rabbits are harvested for their meat. It was just
And
kind of a stupid thing. But then I was also talking, like I said, after the movie, I was talking to someone and they asked me, what do you think the rabbits meant? And they have an idea. We talked about it, and I want to know what you think.
I'm still not really sure about what they mean, to be honest. Other than like the literal aspect, like the cloning, and Red does say they literally were eating them. Like when Addie got a home cooked meal, she got rabbit bloody and raw, she says. But in terms of symbolism, I'm not really sure. It's one of the things I haven't really been able to grasp.
Okay, so when Red was telling that story, I did take a little bit of it as like an allegory. So when she said you were getting home cooked meals and I was eating rabbit, I really didn't think they were actually eating the rabbits until I saw the scene, and that's why I made the connection. I was like, oh wait, they were eating the rabbits. That's why there's so many. But what we kind of decided, my original feeling was what you were saying, that it's sort of just like implying that this is a lab setting, that these are just animals in the lab that have been let set loose and have run rampant. And we know, rabbits multiply quickly, and so they're now all over this place instead of in their cages. Um, but the other person said, I wonder if it's an Alice in Wonderland reference because she goes down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I thought about that because white rabbits obviously invoke Alice in Wonderland, and yeah, I mean they go underground, but I don't really know what the the deep parallel would be there. Is there a deeper parallel to Alice in Wonderland?
I mean, just in the sense that it changes your worldview and you discover things you didn't know existed, and I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of suppositions you can pull from that, but I was willing to accept that it's an Alice in Wonderland reference without entirely being sure what it meant.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, it's what this is such an interesting thing because I watched the movie today, and so I think a lot of times I watch the movies a few days before and it like sits with me and I come up with some things I hadn't thought of. But now I'm like, here is everything I thought of in the last like 4 hours. And I feel like I am skipping over things. I did write down the recurring theme of I got five on it. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but that song came up a bunch.
I mean, it just slaps.
Yeah, and the subtitles on my Netflix when she's doing the fight scene says, "I got 5 on it, classical version." So, I really had to listen to the music to be like, "Oh, yeah, I get it. This is the same song." So, I don't know what the repetition of that was supposed to mean.
There is a scene where Gabe says, like, it's just a really good ass song. And that could just be Jordan telling us what it means.
I like that. Okay, so then the movie ends not just with us figuring out or learning this twist. It also ends with a shot of all of these people dressed in red holding hands across America. What the fuck was that? I don't get that. Like, are they taking over? Is this like a significant other type thing where you think everything is I mean, no spoilers to that movie because that movie is freaking amazing if you haven't seen it. But is what is this? Like did they win? Are they surface dwellers now?
So, Hands Across America was about, like, bringing attention to the homeless and poverty, right?
Yes.
So, I feel like they've inverted it. So, instead of, like, trying to help the impoverished are rising up. So, it's like a dark version of Hands Across America. And of course, they're all wearing red, so they literally look like the paper cutouts that were the symbol for Hands Across America. So they're like paper dolls, and they're all fighting with scissors because they're cutting their tethers. They're like paper dolls. They're separating each other. They're cutting their tethers. So there's a lot. The symbolism is so like intertwined and just thick with like self-referential and like references to other things like from the 80s and whatnot.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't think about the bird's eye view of them looking like the Hands Across America logo, which makes sense because she has that T-shirt in her space underground and she's looking at it. So that's like her inspiration. So what about the glove? Why are they all wearing one glove? Is it like a latent Michael Jackson thing from 1986? Like what's happening there?
I believe it's because Addie was wearing the Thriller shirt that her dad won her when she was chained to the bed and became red. So that she grew up with a Thriller shirt, and then they copied the red glove from that.
So it is a Michael Jackson thing from 1986.
Yeah, because she literally knew who Michael Jackson was as a girl because she was from the above ground. So yeah.
Okay. That's a weird little tidbit. Like, that's a weird detail.
Yeah, I mean, she used the cultural touchstone she still had when she was a little girl, and those became the symbols of her uprising.
Wow.
Yeah, there's so much you just notice when you watch this movie has, like, more replay value than almost any other movie I can think of.
So, were there things that you noticed now that you didn't notice before the other times you watched it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely making more and more connections. Um, Chud is in the first shot of the movie. There's like it's an old CRT TV with VHSs stacked there, and there's Chud. Remember we watched that? It's about the radioactive homeless people underground who rose up and started eating people.
Oh my god. Whoa. That was like that random Amazon movie we watched that time.
Yeah, it's an old 80s cult classic. It's got a sequel we should watch sometime. I've heard it's pretty good.
Oh my God. That's so crazy. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's like a nice gem to find on the third go around for this movie. I absolutely think that a second and third watch would uncover other things for me. I also want to take a moment to just point out how fucking unbelievable Lupita Nyong'o was as Red. I was
Yeah.
I was blown away. I was like, every accolade that this woman has ever gotten is so fucking earned because she was unbelievable.
Yeah, she was scary.
She was scary. It was well done. I mean, even her death scene.
And the choreography.
Yeah, all of it. I was so impressed.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, let's see. I think that might be it. I had I mean, we talked about Hands Across America and the mirrors, fate, free will. And now that I think about it, I saw a lot of themes relating to fate versus free will. But then if you talk about like the class struggle, it's interesting because it sort of feels that way. It feels like if you're born into poverty or just a disadvantaged position in life, it feels like this is just how it is. You're fated. Like you don't really have the free will and the freedom as much as someone else who was born in a position of advantage would have. And they are totally convinced that their position is because of the choices they made, is because of the free will that they've had, that they've exercised. And then they have this illusion that everyone has free will, right? It's interesting. And it's funny because I'm thinking about like fate versus free will and just comparing it to your comment about how it's a commentary on class. And I just think that's so interesting because is it also a comment on why it's such a struggle for the classes, different classes to relate to each other or understand each other, or for, an upper class demographic to really see the lower class demographic? Because that's the whole thing, right? They're underground, they're literally hidden. So like, is that the thing? Like they
Yeah.
can't even see them. They're underground and they can't relate to them at all because their circumstances are just so widely different. But I don't know. I guess when I think about it that way, it's very depressing.
Oh, yeah. Like, the way he goes out of his way to say, like, the government did it is really, like, reminiscent of redlining.
Yes.
It's like, we did this, and we did it on purpose.
Yeah. And I love that the government is not represented. That's the best part because when they have these things where it's like the government is a part of it, the government official shows up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think of actually, this made me think of Stranger Things a lot too, because you learn about this little girl 11 and you learn things that happened to her. But I think in the first season, that Papa character was like off screen. And I remember you don't have a lot of context for the greater facility, the greater like government facility where she was kept for like the first few episodes, I think. And then the government official comes in and is like the face of that organization. But here there is no face of the government. It's nameless. It's everywhere. And that's a true to life kind of feeling when you are in those kinds of positions. And I mean, you just think the government, they're nameless, they're faceless, but they're everywhere and they're the ones responsible. It's wild.
And Red says they abandoned us, and it's like, yeah, she's right. They're nowhere in this movie.
Yeah.
It really underlines that, yeah, the government really did just abandon them.
Yeah. And there's no government response, right?
Yep.
To these people coming out. And I didn't realize they were, I mean, obviously, you don't realize it's happening everywhere until they watch the news. And then you realize, oh my gosh, it's all over the place. And there is no government response. You see the media, you see newscasters, but you don't see police coming in. You don't see like black vans rolling up, like nothing. It's like they don't even want to take responsibility to the extent that they want to protect their secrets. They're just going to let it ride.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the suspense of disbelief for me, I'm I was like pretty sure I wanted to give this a 5-star, but I'm thinking I'm gonna bump it to 4.5 just because so many questions, but it was just so extraordinarily done. But I'm gonna say 4.5 stars.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I think I would have given it 4.5, but I'm just gonna give it a 5 because it's like it's an allegory, it's magic. I'm just over caring about all the questions that you can't get answers to because there's so much there that has like there's so much meat on the bone that I don't really care about the infinite plot holes he opened up.
Okay. I could absolutely see myself revisiting this and giving it 5 stars, but I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't think I'm enlightened enough through this movie to just say, I know everything there is I can know, and therefore 5 stars. I think there's more for me to discover, and then I'll give it 5 stars. For now, in my infancy in experiencing this movie, I'm gonna stick with 4.5 stars.
I mean, I think there still are things for me to discover about this movie, and that's why it's a 5.
So, okay, what did you take a look at what we're doing next week?
We're doing John Carpenter's The Fog from 1980.
Oh, hey. Have you seen this?
I have not seen this.
Okay. Well, I'm excited and I'm still I've still got like adrenaline running from this movie, so.
All right. Until next time.
All right, until next time.
This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. For additional information and other media content, visit theferalthread.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.